All right. So today, I decided to use this time to talk about the marijuana wars, the drug wars, and I'll keep it short and succinct. But first, you got to know that I don't smoke pot. I never have. I probably never will. It's just my thing. Drugs are not my thing, and if that's your thing, that's fine. That's cool. I'm all right with that. I don't judge because that's a personal decision. Um, that being said, I know that waking up at 11:30 in the morning probably doesn't make my case for letting you know that I've never smoked pot. But that's true. I'm just off and I'm resting and I'm enjoying the sleeping in. Sleep is my friend. So the first thing has to do with cartels. Mexican drug cartels make $1 to $2 billion a year off of marijuana trade alone. That doesn't include cocaine or any other hard drugs. So marijuana alone, they make $1 to $2 billion a year. Legalization, we could impact that. If it just in California, a small bit nationally, we could erase that entire $1 to $2 billion that they use for kidnappings, for murders, for drug violence, for destabilizing the entire country of Mexico. Second reason is because of the arrests. 17,000 felony arrests in California alone related to marijuana. And what does that mean? That means $47,000 a year for each one of those if they're housed in a prison or a jail. That's $47,000 a year that doesn't go to education, that doesn't go to pay for higher education or anything like that. Other effects, federal financial aid. If you're a student, if you've got a marijuana related conviction, that's question 23 on the FAFSA. If you answer yes to any one of those questions, there's a possibility that you won't get federal aid. So for something you did maybe one time, maybe you just got caught one time, there goes your opportunity just because of a marijuana conviction. Another angle that people don't consider is actually the environmental effects and the health effects. A lot of marijuana is grown on federal lands, on national parks or in national parks, and federal forests. And the thing is that these are unregulated and unrestricted. So what ends up happening is you get people who grow pot in a large area of a national forest. They take that and they use pesticides, they use herbicides, they use fertilizers, and they use it with reckless abandon. And once all that stuff once the growing season is over, if it starts raining, all that stuff just goes into streams, it goes into rivers, it goes into the watershed, into ground wells, and some people rely on wells in these areas for their drinking water. So now they're drinking water that's been contaminated with pesticides and herbicides and fertilizers, and that's destroying their health. So you have those reasons right there. What would regulation do? Regulation, yeah, I trust that a guy behind the counter at a liquor store is not going to sell to a teenager, to a kid, more so than I do some dickhead on the street. So that's part one. Part two, $47,000 a year from incarceration for any conviction. If it's a marijuana conviction, now we release the state from those burdens, not to mention administrative costs. You get taxation. You can tax the shit out of it. Make some money, spend it somewhere else. Spend it on education. Spend it on health. Spend it on something. Build more roads. Build more public transit systems. Whatever the hell you want to do. And then, of course, you have the fact that 50% of the American people support marijuana legalization and regulation. You can't discount that. People are against it for a number of reasons. A lot of people against it, they're not just social conservatives or older people who are against drug use at all. But these are people who are small-time growers or small-time dealers, people who make their livelihood off of or who augment their income from selling marijuana. And so they oppose it because this is their bread and butter. But think about that. You have a few people who don't want to lose their livelihood because of what they do, and you look at all those negative costs. So that sounds a little bit greedy. That sounds a little bit corporate greedy if you want to get into that. That sounds a little bit like a 1% dictating terms for the 99% to the detriment of the 99%. So yeah, I know that's a rhetorical thing to just kind of twist that and put that back onto to the growers, but you know what? That's just the way it is. It's selfish, it's greedy, it's short-sighted. So all these local growers, these local dealers, and the people who buy from them and who would support them, yeah, I don't care. Your opinion, it means a lot because it's your opinion and you're entitled to that. But in the face of all these other things, the principle kind of goes by the wayside. And now we've got to be pragmatic. We've got to understand that we can't always just just stick to the principle of this is my livelihood. Sometimes we've got to do what's best for everything else and for everyone else.